Hi everyone, Steve Crosby here. Welcome to this issue of Monday Morning Music. I'm going to talk to you about the issue of witness. Our individual witness, our witness to the world, and the witness of the church. Next couple of weeks we're going to talk about this. Most of you know that is a translation from the root word for to be a martyr. And it's very important to understand that when we use the term witness, it doesn't mean just to talk to people. That's something that's come from a stream of rationalistic Platonic thought from the Reformation down to us and Western Gentile Grecian thinkers. We think that that means to explain things to people. A martyr is not someone who explains things. A martyr is someone that someone sees and notices something. Now, the early church did not have Bibles to read. They had the apostolic declaration of the life and ministry and death and resurrection of Jesus, which theologians call the kerygma. And even if they had the scriptures, the most optimistic literacy rate that I've seen is 15%. The most pessimistic literacy rate that I've seen was 3%. And that literacy was also skewed towards the wealthy and to males. Females were generally not literate. There were exceptions, especially in the upper classes. My point is, when we say witness, their understanding of witness wasn't telling the people about what the Bible said. Look, the scriptures, the New Testament scriptures weren't settled for about 400 years in their totality. And even if they had them, and we know they didn't have them, they would have been incredibly expensive. And if you had one or two Torah rolls, you would have been lucky. In a city, in a community, in a village, you would have been lucky. Gentiles would not have been studying Torah. They had no Torah background. Torah would have been meaningless to them. So when we speak of the early church and the witness of the early church, it was how they were existing and the transformation that they had experienced. Particularly in this simple statement. Look at how they love one another. That was the number one witness. The witness wasn't, lecturing people about what the Bible says. The witness, which became the platform to listen to what this community might have to say, this Christian community, was how they cared for one another. And I actually did a survey once, I think it's available on the webpage, of the top things that were attractive to first century converts. What was it in the early church that made people, including multitudes of people, want to associate, and I don't just mean go to meetings with, but to cast their lot in with this despised people, a despised race, and a Messiah who is a crucified criminal. Why would you throw your lot in with that bunch? And of the 7 or 8 things that I found from reading, not what church historians say about the church, but about what critics and the pagans of the day said about the followers of Christ. And of the 5 or 7, whatever it was, I did it so long ago I don't remember, top things that impacted people, it wasn't the worship service, it wasn't the Sunday school, it wasn't even the quality of the preaching. There were 7 or 8 qualities of behavior, of how they lived among themselves and among the community, that so impacted their neighbors and the unbelieving world that many multitudes wanted to join. God is not an object to be analyzed. God is something to be seen. And when I say seen, I mean to be seen in human flesh. The Christian message, above all, is an incarnational message. That means it is to be seen in flesh and blood on planet Earth. It's not about Greek rhetoric and Greek metaphysics and invisible spiritual things. The life of God is supposed to be seen in human beings. And that is the foundation of our witness. Frankly, in the American experience, we've had centuries of really pretty much insincerity and hypocrisy. And that's why when we do this so-called cold contact witnessing, it is so incredibly ineffective. Even Billy Graham admits that basically the fruit of all his work, it's only about 3% effective. I would say that in any other universe other than the church, that would be called an epic failure. But because somebody's going to say, well, who can put the price on an individual soul? We're not talking about the metaphysical values of a human soul. We're talking about having a witness. And we're going to talk about some more about this in the next episode. But witness is more than telling people about what the Bible says. The witness begins at this point. Look at how they love one another. It needs to start in our own psychology as individuals. It needs to start in our families, and it needs to start amongst one another. And I've been in the church quite a few years, and I can only think of a couple of environments that I've come into where the love of God was so present that even unbelievers could walk into a gathering, know that something was different, and say, what do you people have? We want it. I have been in those places. So I know it's real. And these were not perfect people. They weren't flawless people. But there was the reality of a community in love with God and one another so evident, including in signs and wonders, that's another conversation, that strangers could come in and want to be part of the family. I don't know about you, but for me, that's revival. And I'm all on board for that. And I'll see you next time.